listening to the Parts Pros podcast, the only podcast made specifically for automotive parts professionals. We're here to dive into the latest industry trends, expert strategies, and real world solutions to drive success and boost your parts department bottom line. I'm your host, Amanda Poe, an automotive marketing expert with more than a decade of experience helping dealerships drive growth in the ever evolving digital landscape. Today, I have two individuals with me. The first one is Emily. She is from our official podcast sponsor, Revolution Parts. Emily is a parts guru with 5 years of hands-on experience working in both OEM and aftermarket parts departments. Emily, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Hey, Amanda. I'm excited for today's chat. We have an all-star guest today. So yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely. The reason we're all here, Mr. Ted Ings. Ted is the founder and host of FixedOps Round Table. Ted has been in this industry for 44 years and is well regarded as one of the most experienced influencers in the fixed ops space, as well as the automotive industry as a whole. Ted, welcome.
Amanda and Emily, thank you. We're talking in the green room. Doesn't that sound terrible? 44. I can't believe 44 years, right? In the
That's
same
why I
industry.
say more than a decade. I just stop it there.
Okay, next time we'll do it that way.
You can just say you have more than a decade of experience. And you do, in fact, have more than a decade of experience, don't you?
I do. I was a kid when I started off. I was 19 years old, and I started in retail. And, there were just some things that attracted me to the industry. A friend of mine was working, Emily, selling cars in New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey. And he was selling Buicks at the time in 1981. I mean, people can't even think about what that was like, right? But he was making big money. He was making $500 a week to a 19-year-old, 40 some years ago. That's a lot of money, right? And I figured I would give it a try. And I got into the car business, and I never looked back, right? And I'm still in it. I was the kid back then, Amanda, and all the people in it seemed to be men right back then, right? And there have been a lot of things that have changed and evolved over the years, but it's a great industry, and it's one that's been ripe for disruption for a long time.
You have got that exactly right. That is actually, I want to ask you, that's my first question of the day. Other than no longer making $500 a week, how has this industry changed over the course of your career in 44 years?
I did make the 500 every week, by the way. There were some weeks that were not that good, okay? But we won't go there. The industry has changed. And, while the rest of the world has transformed and evolved and been disrupted in so many ways, the car business really did not for a long time. First on the sales side and maybe in the finance, but fixed operations was probably the last one to get, pulled by the rope, tugging and screaming, not wanting to change. But yet there's so much that has evolved. And the bottom line is it's really good for the guest. It's good for the customer. We now have, Emily, a more transparent car business for consumers. We're focused on different things. Back then, we were focused on the money, okay, that $500. Today, we're focused on time. Time is the currency. Quality, balance, growth for all of us as individuals, convenience for the customer, and we can't lose sight that we're in the people business. It's not just about the cars, it's about the people. And somebody recently put it really great on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. They said we're also in the hospitality business. And we really are. We're really compared to all the other businesses that are in hospitality. And that's why the customer expectations are high and increasing every hour, every minute.
You put that in a very eloquent way. I know that as a consumer, I'm in a Mopar family. With my husband, there are many battles I will win, and the Mopar battle is not one of them. So we are a Mopar family through and through. And if I don't have a good experience at a dealership, I'm going to find a new dealership really quick. If I'm ordering a part and it takes them 2 weeks to get that part to me, I'm definitely not going to order a part from that dealership again. So hospitality in this industry has become huge. I think, especially because there's so many more dealerships today than there were even 20 years ago.
You're exactly right. And Amanda, we're not just compared to the dealership across the street or down the highway. We're compared to every other experience the customer has. The guest, just like all of us, uses Amazon, orders things on DoorDash, and has a certain level of expectation, which has now become the norm. And that has worked its way into the car business because they expect the very same thing. I was in a dealership last week in Sacramento, California, a Porsche dealership. And to talk about transparency, they have a glass wall in the showroom that looks into the shop where the customer buying their new vehicle can see the technicians working on the vehicle. I mean, talk about it's no longer behind a closed garage door. It's wide open, and the customer can see and ask questions just the way we can about our Amazon. My delivery's not here yet. My Amazon delivery, my DoorDash, it's on the way. Where is it? Let me see where it is. Have they even picked it up yet? So the customer's the same way.
I want my dealership to do that. So when they come in and they show me my air filter and say, you need to replace this air filter, I know that it's actually my air filter they're holding, not an air filter from somewhere else. Because I always question, did that actually come out of my car? And have I actually been breathing in that air? Because that's gross.
And there's been a lot of scars that the car industry has earned, right? Emily, over the years. And it's the better dealerships now that I think that we're all three of us are focused on highlighting what they're doing that's different, that's outstanding, that's creating that convenience, creating that word transparency, the disruption. And fixed ops has really become the engine of that disruption because it's the engine of the dealership. And we've got to feed that engine and we've got to maintain it and take good care of it. And, that's what all of us are doing.
Well, that's a great transition because that's actually my next question. I think 20, 30, 40 years ago, fixed ops wasn't as essential to the dealership. I think a lot of dealerships probably didn't even have service and parts departments. They were reliant solely on sales. So talk to us how you have seen fixed ops becoming a more essential part of dealerships and how a lot of dealerships have made that transition.
Well, I grew up in the sales part of the business. That's how I was able to make that $500 a week, okay, as a 19-year-old. But service, Amanda, back then, most service was warranty, believe it or not. Customers came in and the manufacturer paid for the service, and a big portion of the dealer's business was under that warranty umbrella. And that changed over the years. In fact, Emily, we didn't even call them technicians. They were called mechanics back then, right? We've even changed the terminology. Okay, that's new. That's like in the last 25 years they become techs. And we've realized that they're some of the most valuable people in the dealership because they've got skills and they've got understanding and they're like doctors, all right? And they've got to be constantly certified and re-educated on the latest things. A doctor goes to school, but the body doesn't change all that much, but the vehicles change every year. And the techs have to keep up on that. So it's a very, very interesting industry, and we've earned a new level of respect for that technician. Like our friend Tully Williams says, it's all about the hours, and those technicians turn hours, which is the most valuable thing a dealership sells. And the parts sells hours. Parts and labor go hand in hand. Can't have one without the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also a difference in the way that human beings interact now. 40 years ago, a lot of people fixed their own cars, right? You wanted to maintain your vehicle, you wanted it to last a long time. 10 years ago, nobody was fixing their own cars. We were trading in cars every 2 or 3 years, and we weren't really worried about fixing it. And now we've again made a transition back into a world where people are trying to fix cars and they're trying to keep them on the road for longer.
Isn't that interesting? Okay. And, sales has been the glamorous, the new car, the sexy part of the car dealership. And, we ignored the fixed ops department. If you went to a National Auto Dealers Association show, NADA convention some years ago, you would see it's all focused on sales. There was nothing on service or parts. And while it's not really, you know, flipped, okay, it's better than it was, but now there's a realization that, wait a second, I want to sell those parts. That is the best part of the industry, and the same thing with the labor. So it's been a revolution, and if I can use that term, and it continues to evolve.
That is excellent. Great input. Okay, my last question of the day. What advice would you give parts managers? We all want to achieve success in 2025. We want to, get that quote unquote 100% absorption rate. What advice would you give those parts managers to achieve success this year?
That's a great question. The sales department, because I saw it, invests in its people. We train them. Um, we we lead by example. We read books. We mentor, and now we see that in fixed operations, and most recently in parts. There's a new parts department that's coming up with new people that are coming in, and the teachers, the managers are becoming mentors. And I can give you a half a dozen names of leaders who are encouraging their people to read books, to better themselves, invest in themselves, to take some time off, okay, and enjoy that with their family. And it's not all about working 12 hours a day or more anymore. It's about quality of life, and it's about understanding more about the about yourself, your family, your industry, and really, giving back to the industry as well. So I would say advice would be invest in your people and in yourself as well.
That's fantastic advice. I try to follow that advice, but man, it's hard at the end of the day when you've worked, 8, 10, 12 hours to sit down and educate yourself on new strategies and new things happening in the world. But it is, especially in this industry, with the way that it is constantly changing, just essential to success of any individual as well as any department.
And dealers are recognizing that because they're not requiring their people to work from early morning until the sun goes down. Technicians now can work 4-day work weeks. We see even 3-day work weeks. We see that in the parts department. We see that in the sales department. There are dealerships now that have done that dealership wide with administration, with finance, with everybody in the controller's office. So quality of life is important, and it's working its way into the car business. So it's refreshing after all these years, refreshing to see that.
Well put. Ted, you mentioned a glass wall between service and sales at that Sacramento Porsche dealership, and I'm so glad you brought that up because it's cool to hear that dealerships are literally breaking down walls between departments, making it more transparent for the customer and probably also creating a more collaborative environment within the dealership. So that leads me to wonder, how are you seeing dealerships removing those walls between departments from a management and operations and collaboration perspective?
Sure. There's the sales department, Emily. There's sales and finance, F&I, right? And there's service and parts. And there's been walls between all of them over the years, and silos, if you will. And that's now coming together. We're seeing dealerships that pay the parts counter people on labor gross. We see it in pay plans now because we want to get those parts delivered quickly to the technicians, and we want to get the vehicle ready for the customer as efficiently and quickly as possible. So we see people starting to work together, and dealerships realizing the customer doesn't see just service department or parts department. They see the dealer, ABC dealership, and it's all one to the consumer. So on the FixedOps Round Table, we started off with content strictly for fixed ops. And of course, it was initially mostly service, right? And now it's come on strong with parts. Parts is like, whoa, it's right there, neck and neck with service. But we also have a lot of segments on finance, F&I, finance and insurance, because the finance business office sells service agreements, service contracts, which keep the customer as part of retention and loyalty with the dealership. So that all goes hand in hand. So a lot of the segments that we deliver on the roundtable, or things that I listen to and take a lot of notes on, Emily, talk about departments working together now and cross-training individuals between departments. We've got an association with Northwood University. A lot of folks, a lot of young people go there. A lot of people go back to school and go there, and they want to give their students a good education throughout the dealership, throughout all the different departments. So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, a lot more communication, a lot more transparency, to bring that word up again. And again, service and parts working together with sales. And there's no shortage of where that's going to go. That's going to continue.
Well,
So
we talked
true.
a little bit about
So true.
absorption rate earlier. The only way to get that absorption rate is through parts and service, right? It's sales is not going to cover your absorption rate, even 50% of it most of the time.
And the better dealers who have that high absorption rate, Amanda, interestingly enough, the focus is no longer on the money. It's no longer focused on making money. It's focused on, if you do the right thing, the money's going to come. Okay. And that's, I think, generic in all business, but do the right thing for the customer. The dealership I was at last week, the dealer, they've been in business 104 years. And The grandson today runs the dealership, okay, and has a family as well. But he carries in his pocket these core values, and he took them out and he showed them the core values. And actually, they're on the walls in the dealership, they're all over. And you see this in a lot of dealerships. But I thought it was interesting that he said that whenever something comes up, whether should we do this for the customer or that, he said the answer lies in the core values. And I thought that was powerful to hear that. And I'm not quite his age, okay, yet, okay, but he's worked in the business a long time, and you can see the evolution. And what he's doing has transferred to 700 employees that they have in their dealerships. So it was
Wow.
very refreshing to see.
That's a lot of employees.
It's a lot of people, right? But the car business offers these opportunities. Where else can you get, maybe without a college degree, come in and learn about sales, learn about technical skills, learn about finance, learn about logistics, learn about marketing, Emily, learn about all these things and interact with customers and learn about business and then the bonus is, you do all those things, you'll have a great income and start a family. And we've heard it said that it's all about the hours, but it really is all about the opportunities, I think, that retail offers. And look, dealerships are not going away. They've said, back in the 90s, they're going to go away. We're going to do it all online. And that's not happened because the dealer is part of the community. The dealer makes sure that the local police has their vehicles fixed. The fire department can get to the fires, and service the community. And that's all the dealer giving back charitably, locally. And they do so much for the community. So again, great opportunity to work for a dealer if you have that opportunity.
Well, speaking of opportunities, what recent opportunities, now that variable ops has taken a little bit of a backseat to set the stage for the other departments of the dealership, what opportunities in fixed ops have surprised you most?
Can you believe that variable taking a back seat, right, to fixed ops? I would say the answer to that, Emily, is there really are no surprises right now. Everything is open. It's all open game because the parts and service departments have become the front of the house. And I've heard that said by the head of OEMs. They've gotten on stage and said, you know what? We got to look at the fixed operations department as being the front of the dealership. How about that? Okay. And, where sales has been open 24 hours a day online, guess what? It's coming now to fixed operations. So it's a matter of being convenient for the customer, mobile service, going to the customer, making it convenient, having the customer part of the process. Look, technicians are now, we talked about them working in the back. They're now doing videos for the customer and explaining what they found on the vehicle. All right. And it goes right to the customer on a text and videos in all of our lives. So no one's afraid of the video. And the technicians on there telling them what they found. And, for a consumer, Amanda, saying, does my air filter really need replacing? Do my brakes really need replacing? Well, here's the technician with my car, with my brakes showing me the measurement. And, it's true, and it really builds trust, and it's a good thing for the industry, and good thing for customers, and good thing all the way around. So
Yeah.
no shortage of surprises, Emily. Don't fear fixed ops, embrace it. If you work in a dealership in the sales department, don't fear fixed ops. Get involved with it, and you'll be glad you did. You'll make yourself more valuable, and the dealership will like that as well.
That is all excellent points. I was talking about wanting a dealership that we trust, that we like. Being a Mopar family, it's obviously it's going to be a Mopar dealership. We are lifetime customers of Dallas Dodge, and everything that you just talked about is what they do. I take my truck in, I take my Jeep in, I take my car in, and I'm getting a text message with videos, with pictures, notifications letting me know what needs to happen to my vehicle, and it is so convenient. But the other thing that I absolutely love is when the dealership itself is not open, I can still do what I need to do because it's all online. I can still order parts, request service, ask for information, and the first person that arrives the next day gets that request and is able to fulfill it, oftentimes before I'm even out of bed. So it's the digital age has made, I think, owning vehicles so much easier, and hopefully selling and maintaining them easier as well.
I'm like you. I make a service appointment. I don't do it during business hours. I do it at 10:30 at night, right, from my phone. And it's made everything super convenient. And again, these are all great changes for the consumer, and it's great for the car business. And I can't wait to see where it's going to go. It's going to continue to get more exciting. So I'm going to hang around for a little while. So.
Well, that is good to hear. Ted, thank you so much for being with us today. I think that's all we have time for today, but this has been the very first ever episode of the Parts Pros podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed what you had to hear today. We would love to hear your feedback. If you want to visit us at partsprospodcast.com for more information on the Parts Pros and our official e-commerce sponsor, Revolution Parts. Again, you can visit partsprospodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, and wherever you catch your podcasts, or on our website. And don't miss our next episode. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.